Okay, so the LCD is 4x. We're going to find the LCD. Then we're going to multiply both sides of the equation. By the LCD over 1. We're going to multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD over 1. I will show you what that looks like. So we found the LCD is 4x. We're going to take both sides of the equation and multiply by 4x over 1. But when we have addition or subtraction, that means I'm going to have to distribute this 4x. So what I'm actually going to write down is I'm going to write 4x over 1 multiplied by 5 over x plus 4x over 1 multiplied by 7 over 4, equal sign. 4x over 1 multiplied by negative 9 over x. We're basically multiplying all three fractions by 4x over 1. Now at this step, we're going to look at each original fraction and what we're multiplying by, and stuff should cancel. So from here, what cancels? The x. And we are left with 4 times 5, 20. In the middle, we've got 4x over 1 times 7 over 4. The 4's cancel, and we get 7x. And then on the right side of the equation, the x's cancel, and we get negative 36. So now all we have to do is solve for x. Subtract 20, divide by 7. We get x equals negative 8.
Now you gotta check it.
So how do we know for sure that is an answer? Well, we're going to plug it into the original and check it. It is totally okay if you want to use your calculator to check your answer. So I'm going to use my calculator to check my answer. And I'm especially using my calculator because since I have the newer model, it does the fractions, very handy. What do we type it in? 5 over negative 8 plus 7 over 4. And I get not, well, it doesn't work so well if it's not focused, huh? There we go. I get 9/8. And then my second, the other side is negative 9 over, plug in negative 8. And it, both of them equal 9/8, so I know that I have the right answer. Okay. So example B. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our LCD. And like I said, in homework, it is going to ask you to just find the LCD, and that's going to be separate questions. So you do need to know how to do that, even if you choose to solve it a different way. So we look at the denominators. This first denominator is 1. The second denominator is x minus 5, and the third denominator is x. This is an entire binomial. It is not two separate things. It is one term, x minus 5. So does it have anything in common right now? So since it doesn't have anything in common, the lowest common denominator would be multiplying them all together. X times x minus 5. times 1, but the 1 doesn't really change anything. So we're going to do the LCD, and we're going to multiply it over 1. Plus it. We're going to do it over 1.
Should you distribute that out or leave it there?
I would leave it. Because for us to cancel stuff, we want it in factored form. All right, so I'm going to have x times x minus 5 over 1 multiplied by 1. Oh, pause here. Pause. A lot of mistakes I saw on the quiz. A lot of the mistakes I saw on the quiz were questions that had a subtraction and not addition. It's like we're forgetting what that subtraction sign does. We're forgetting sometimes we have to distribute. Some of us are over distributing. Like there's a lot of mistakes with the subtraction sign. So if you are one of those people constantly making mistakes when there's subtraction, there's something we can do to help. In the original question, if you see subtraction, you can change it into plus and negative. So when I go and I'm multiplying everything down here, I'm going to have a plus sign rather than a minus sign. And so I'm going to have a negative 8 on top instead of a positive 8. When you change it into plus or negative, you only affect the top, or you only affect the bottom, which we don't want to do. You don't change both. You change both, negative over negative is positive. So you only change one of them. So now I'm going to go back to multiplying. I'm going to have x times x minus 5 over 1, and this one's going to be multiplied by negative 8 over x minus 5. Equals x times x minus 5 over 1 multiplied by 3 over x. And when I multiply those, stuff is going to cancel. What's going to cancel here? Well, okay. Doesn't really affect anything. So we have left over x times x minus 5 plus, what cancels here? Negative 8x equals, and then canceling here would be the x. So we're going to have 3 times x minus 5. Where you could maybe save some steps would be what I'm doing next. What do I need to do next? Maybe you need something but saying the wrong words. What do I need to do next? I'm going to distribute, which you could kind of do here if you wanted to. But I'm showing all this stuff, so. So now we're going to distribute. We're going to get x squared minus 5x minus 8x equals 3x minus 15. So we distribute it. You guys are almost right. The LCD, the lowest common denominator, is the two of these multiplied together. No, those are two. They're separated by plus or minus signs. So we're looking at all separate denominators. There's 3 separate denominators in the question. So 1 times x minus 5 is x times x. All right. Combine some like terms. X squared minus 13x equals 3x minus 17. Okay, at this point, we have to solve for x. And when you have an x squared, you have to set it equal to 0. All right, so we're going to subtract that 3x, and we're going to add that 15. After you set it equal to 0, your choices are factoring, quadratic formula. If it factors, factoring is going to be faster. I will tell you, I gave you some that don't factor. So one of these examples we will do by quadratic formula. I'll just go ahead and factor this one. So x and x it says plus 15 over here, so I know they're both the same sign. It says minus 16, so I know they're both minus. 1 and 15 is going to equal negative 16. Then we set each factor equal to 0. And we solve each factor. Okay.
I say it's like just like a number, so it's like x minus 15, you have to set it equal to 0, or you can just write like x equal.
You can see it, but you gotta be careful when it's like, yeah. You just gotta be careful in that. So I will always show it this way because I don't want you thinking it's a trick and then do it wrong when it comes to here. But if you understand it, you're fine. Okay, how do I know that both answers work?
Check them.
You have to check both answers.
One doesn't work though.
Which one doesn't work?
One.
Oh, literally one. Let me see. So, just look at my notes.
Oh, wait, no, it doesn't work. Never mind.
Got me confused there.
Why did yours check?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Get it wrong.
It's a subtraction sign.
Oh, that subtraction sign again.
It's a subtraction sign.
So this would be 1 plus 2 equals 3. That checks.
1 minus 1.
Right. That'll get you. But you can type it in your calculator to check it too. The other one also checks. I'm not going to spend our time checking. Check. Yep, it works. Okay. So our two answers are going to be 1 and 15. Don't worry. I'll show you what happens when it doesn't check. I will show you what happens when it doesn't check.
Does the world go straight?
Those of you working ahead, I'm not doing number 4.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't want that.
In fact, let's see. What should I want to go to?
Number 6, 5.
Oh. Yeah, let's go to 6. Let's look at number 6. 4 and 5. Actually, let's just do the LCD for 4 and 5. So we practice. My other class, that's where they like had a lot of questions when they started doing their homework. Let's just find LCD. We won't work it all out. Let's just find LCD. So x and 5 have nothing in common, so the LCD is 5 times x, 5x. So you would multiply both sides by 5x over 1. Okay, next one, do not yell it out before everybody has a chance to think for themselves. So we're finding the LCD. Just finding the LCD, we won't work this one out. Just finding the LCD. Can 2x be factored? Can 2x be factored? Okay, can x plus 1 be factored? Do they have any factors in common? No, x is not a factor of this one, because this is a binomial. So they don't have any factors in common, so the LCD is just the two of them multiplied together. So they don't have any factors in common. When they have factors in common, it gets a little trickier. All right, how about the next one? This one we are going to work out the whole thing. Do any of the denominators factor? What factors? So this is a difference of squares, x plus 1, x minus 1. So the LCD, this one already has x plus 1. So I'm not going to just multiply them together. The lowest common denominator would be, what would our common denominator be? Like if I were going to add these together, I would only have to give this one x plus 1s. So our lowest common denominator is going to be x plus 1, x minus 1. That's what the denominator would be if I were adding like denominators. But instead of adding them, we're going to multiply both sides by the LCD over 1. It's gonna take me a moment to write it down. There's 3 times I'm multiplying x plus 1 times x minus 1. And I'm changing color every time. That last term 3, if I were going to make that last term 3 into a fraction, it would be 3 over 1. All right. So then we go and we look, and we're going to cancel 3 times. Well, maybe not. We're going to cancel where we can cancel. We're going to cancel here, the x plus 1s. In the middle, we're going to cancel the entire x plus 1, x minus 1. And over on this side, nothing cancels, because there weren't any denominators here. What should happen is every time you have a denominator, it should cancel out, if you've done it right. All right, so what do we have left? Times what? Change your mind. Sure. So I wrote everything that I have left, what I didn't cancel out. And then I have to solve for x. But solve for x I can't in parentheses. So what should I do over here?
Well,
Need a FOIL. 4x squared plus x minus 4x minus 1 equals 12 plus. What am I going to do over here? What am I going to distribute? Okay, so here's where people start to make mistakes, because you can distribute the 3 to the x plus 1, but don't distribute the 3 to both parentheses. There is an easier way of doing this one, though. Yeah, I think FOILing first, and especially because in the original question, the x plus 1 and x minus 1 came from x squared minus 1. So I don't really even have to FOIL that. I already know what the answer is. Because we factored it right at the beginning. It's fine. So this is x squared minus 1. And then we multiply that by 3. We get 3x squared minus 3. So if you use the work that you did earlier, you save yourself some time. Do we have an x squared in it? If we have an x squared in it, then it needs to say equals 0, so I'm going to move everything to one side. And I'm going to move it over to this side so that we have a positive x squared. That means I'm going to subtract to 12, I'm going to add a 3, and subtract the 3x squared to both sides.
it should be negative 3x, right?
What?
4x squared minus 3x.
Oh yeah, I just haven't simplified it.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing it right now.
Sorry.
You could have simplified sooner. All right. So at this point, your choices are to factor or to do quadratic formula. We are going to do quadratic formula just for practicing, but if it is factoring, you're more than welcome to do factoring in your homework. What was that in there?
See, it gets a little fuzzy.
Something over 2a.
Hey, that's good. You remember over 2a. So we're practicing quadratic formula because none of the examples I put in the notes needs quadratic formula, but at least one homework question needs quadratic formula. So we'll do it by quadratic formula for practice. Okay. I'm not singing. What?
Only one,
At least one.
so there's more.
There could be one, but there could be 6.
I think let's talk about
X equals opposite v plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac. I didn't write it fast enough.
Over to the
B squared minus 4ac.
I always forget the B squared.
Over 2a. Okay. So we have x equals, the opposite of b is positive 3. Plus or minus, square root b squared is 9. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 10. All over 2 times 1. So that's going to give us 3 plus or minus, and then we have to calculate 9 plus 40, 49. So we have 3 plus or minus 7 over 2. It's going to give us 2 answers. One of the answers is going to be 3 plus 7 over 2. The other answer is going to give us 3 minus 7 over 2. 10 over 2 is 5. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2.
Or divided by 2.
Now, if this is a quadratic formula question, like if you couldn't factor it, there would still be a square root left over in your answer.
Yeah, messy,
But when-
messy.
So you could figure out that.
What did you say?
Plus, you could figure out like the number of factors.
If it factors, then, oh, you said unless you couldn't figure out? Yeah. So if you can't figure out the factoring, you can always use quadratic formula. It will always work. It's just faster to do factoring if it works.
That's true.
Okay, both of these answers work. When we check them, I'm not going to go through the process because of time. Because we were standing outside for like 10 minutes. Okay,
Yeah, they both checked it, sorry.
they do. Thanks for checking for us. All right, this one says solving an equation with an extraneous solution.
That's a big word.
That means extra. It's going to give us an extra solution that really isn't an answer. So we
Lies.
have to check our answers. In your homework, it's not going to tell you, these have extraneous, but these don't. Like, you got to check them. So, what should we do first?
X minus 3 plus 3.
Least common.
Ooh, factor it? Is that what you mean?
I don't know.
So, the first thing we're going to do is factor the x squared minus 9 to x plus 3 and x minus 3. And then we're going to find our LCD. So, you're looking at your denominators. What would the lowest common denominator be?
X plus 3.
So that's what we're going to multiply everything by. Ooh, this one has subtraction in it.
Oh, you get plus and negative 4.
If you don't want to, that's fine, but I'm just seeing where the mistakes are, and it's because of that subtraction sign. So if you make it plus and negative to begin with, it might help save you some problems in the end. Okay? You don't find it hurt?
Yeah, great teacher.
Okay, then we're gonna go through, am I going too fast? Then we're gonna go through, we're gonna cancel stuff, am I going too fast?
No, I'm on the
Computer. So after I cancel, I have 6 times x plus 3 equals 8x squared plus, oh, Oh, I forgot my negative sign. Negative 4x times x minus 3.
I want you
Is
to
that
take
a
the
mistake?
You could, but people forget to distribute the minus sign. Oh yeah, but it happens
Yeah,
over and over and over again.
That's how you get it wrong, you make the silly
No.
mistake.
6x plus 18 equals 8x squared, and then here I have to distribute. So I get minus 4x squared, and then I get plus 12x. That's where the mistake is. If you wrote minus 12x, you would have it wrong.
Oh, shit.
And see, the problem is you would get the wrong answer, and then you'd check those, and they wouldn't check. So you'd think that they weren't answers, and you'd say they were extra solutions.
Yeah.
Because you're expecting something to not check. But the problem was you did it wrong.
In every question, there is an extreme solution, and we all talk.
Okay, so now there's an x squared in it, so I'm going to have to set it equal to 0, and I'm going to make this side have everything. So I'm going to have 4x squared. I'm going to subtract 6x, so I get plus 6x, and I'm going to subtract the 18 minus 18. Our choices are factoring or quadratic formula. I like factoring if it works. Let's see if it works. Is there a GCF?
Yeah, two.
So now we have 2x squared plus 3x minus 9. And then we're going to factor this by guess and check if possible.
I already got it.
Good. So it does factor?
Yes.
Don't tell me.
Oh.
So to get 2x squared, you only have the option of 2x and x. But to get negative 9, you could have 3 and 3, you could have 1 and 9, 1 positive, 1 negative. You got some playing around to do. So what do you want to try?
Let's try -3.
Two,
You want to try 3 and 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I put this in, I'm putting it in without signs. I'm putting it in without signs so that I can figure out the signs and not just listen to my neighbor telling me what to do. I'm going to figure these signs out on my own.
Yeah.
So I'm going to multiply these together and get 6x. I'm going to multiply these together and get 3x. Which of those needs to be negative to give me a positive 3x?
Negative 3x.
So then my minus sign's going to go there.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Now we have to set each factor equal to 0. What is the first factor we're going to set equal to 0? Does 2 have an x in it? So I don't need to worry about 2. It doesn't have an x in it. So 2x minus 3 equals 0. And then x plus 3 equals 0. So 2x is 3, x is 3 halves. X is negative 3.
I did not check it.
Okay, well, looking at the answers, do you think you know which one, if any, you're going to not check?
Yeah, the one that's not negative.
What? Which answer do you think doesn't work? A fraction? Why? Because it's a fraction?
Because I'm smart.
Okay, let's go back up and look at the original question. We have to figure out which one doesn't work. We're going to check it in a moment, but like, I got a shortcut for your checking.
Why didn't you tell us this earlier?
In the original, remember we did restrictions in like all the other sections so far? What's like the restrictions? What would make the denominator zeros for the x cannot equal what numbers? 3 or negative 3. But what did I get for one of my answers? So this is an extraneous solution. If I plugged it back in, it would make a denominator 0. It does not work. Now I can check x equals 3 halves to make sure it is right. And you plug it in your calculator, it does work. Yay, it's right. But the extraneous solution you have to throw out. That's not going to be one of your answers.
Do that. Can you just do the whole brain, please?
Can you just do it yourself and not be rude?
I'll just ask.
No, it was rude the way you said it. We have 7 more minutes left. are you gonna log on and actually work? Then let's do another example.
I need to go to the best.
Can you fill out a sign? Okay, let's look at number 8. And I chose number 8 because it had a minus sign, so you could practice what to do with the minus sign. If you want to start your homework and you don't want to do another example and you're actually going to start your homework, please feel free to get up and start your homework. I'm okay with that. Not making you upset, get up and grab your computer. If you feel like I need another example in my notes, I'm doing another example. At least so I can post more examples on the video. Okay, so we're going to find our LCD, but to find the LCD, we need a factor. So this one factors to x plus 1 and x minus 1. This way. So we're going to multiply both sides by the LCD, which is x plus 1, x minus 1 over 1. So if I have a minus 5 and I don't want to think about minus signs as much, if you change it to plus and negative 5 before you start, it's going to maybe save you some silly mistakes later. So here I can do plus my LCD, x plus 1, x minus 1, or 1 times negative 5 over 1. So once I do that, then I'll start canceling. Nothing cancels there, all of it cancels there. So we're going to have 7 x plus 1 plus negative 5 times x plus 1 times x minus 1 equals 6. Okay, I'm going to have to get rid of the parentheses, so I can distribute the 7. But when I come to the center, since I already should know x plus 1 times x minus 1 is x squared minus 1, because that's where that came from in the first place, I can just take negative 5 times x squared minus 1. So I'm going to get negative 5x squared plus 5. And change the sign, and if I forget that plus 5, I'm going to have a problem. And we look, and there is an x squared in it. So I'm going to set it equal to 0. I also want the x squared positive, so I'm actually going to move everything to the side that has the 6, just so it's easier for me to solve. I'm going to add 5x squared. I'm going to subtract 5. I'm going to subtract 7. I'm going to subtract 7x over here. So you look at this and you say, will this factor? And the question is, or the answer is either yes, and I'm going to have to figure it out, or no, and then I'm going to have to do the quadratic formula, or I don't want to factor, I'm just going to do the quadratic formula. Totally up to you. This one actually does factor. It's 5x, and then this is a 2, and this is a 3, so that gives me 10 and 7. I'm a 10 and 3 to make 7. and then the 10 has to be negative. So we set each equal to 0. And then before even plugging it into check, if you look at the original question, okay? Oh, okay. Before plugging them into check and you look at the original question, what would make a 0 in the denominator? What can x not equal in the denominator? What would make a 0? 1 or negative 1? And neither of those is 1 or negative 1, so this actually has 2 answers. When you go back and you check it, both of them would work. So we're not doing any, oh, I didn't write the assignment down. The assignment is on Big Ideas online. And we are finishing chapter 7 now. And then we review next week. You think that's gonna help?
It held the bottom of it for the entire year because it ripped. The bottom ripped as soon as I bought it.
Oh, really?
It's still taped with 4 pieces of tape. I got it from Target for $5, so you get what you pay for.
Hey, but Alex, you're a great engineer. You know how to make
It's called I'm cheap. I don't want to buy another one.
How about this?
No, it's called your engineering. You're a genius.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah. Be a little more effective.
Do you just need a little piece on that side, or you need a
Both sides ripped open.
Oh, I see.
And the thing is, it ripped like perfectly at the tear too. A lot more fun than the Scotch tape.
Have a good day, Miss Guzzo.
Thanks.
Miss Crystal.
Next week?
Yeah. The goal is Friday.
Okay, that's good. I want to take a test, so I agree. Yeah.
Well, you just took a quiz.
Yeah, but I don't know if I did too good on that.
Well, how'd you do on the multiple choice part?
I got a 7 out of 10.
Okay. About 70% on that part.
Yeah.
And then how'd you do on the graphing?
It was okay.
Well, I mean, I obviously haven't graded it yet, but you kind of like know if you knew what you were doing, or if you're just like pulling stuff out of there. What? Ear? What's the phrase? Bottom?
I didn't know it either. I was trying to think about it.
Oh,
Have a good weekend.
thank you. Hi.
Aaron, you going to the gym today?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yesterday was leg day. My legs are on fire.